What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of What's on Second, a true baseball podcast. It's season 3. We're back. We're here
Ah,
again to do it again, all over again for another 162 games. You know, it's
I'm
already time for that
excited.
season when the MLB.com starts sending me the message that says, hey, we're going to charge you again soon for your MLB.TV subscription.
Yep.
So that means we obviously need to make a show soon. But it's Richie and Michael back on the diamond yet again to talk about some things, all things off season, beginning of spring training, what we're excited about. The list is endless. Obviously, we're just excited to have baseball back in our lives again. Pitchers and catchers have reported. February 22nd, everybody is due to report. Most are already there already, but they're not due yet until the February of 22nd. For most teams, I think it's like 22nd, 23rd. Some teams are hearing that.
Yeah.
Anyway, before that, we must send congratulations. Michael's married now. It is over. The long wait is over. He is a fully married man. He is fully
Yes.
on the team.
Thank
Congratulations. Obviously, I was
you.
there. It
Thank
was a
you.
wonderful celebration. But we need to announce on the airwaves, you're done now, man. You're fully married. Your life is over. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's been the gist. I mean, last year, our second season of What's on Second, I feel like was one of the. I mean, each year it just gets more exciting. Even if it's the same old, same old. It's baseball we get to talk about. Like Richie just said. It's time to start recording something when you get that harassment email of, hey, you're about to get charged $150 for MLB TV, which, is
Gladly pay it
exciting.
every
Oh,
time
yeah.
we, even every time me and Michael go, do we really want to pay for that? And then, of course, like that's not even a question. We're gonna pay it.
Oh,
So,
well, there's that, but Cleveland's in the position that Arizona was last year or two
oh, are
years
they in like
ago,
the Bally Sports position this year?
where they don't, so they're going to have it's like clevelandguardians.tv.
Oh boy. Okay.
So everyone in Cleveland can watch it that way. So there's that kind of alluding to what Richie kind of said. It's, do I want to spend $150 and watch all of baseball,
Hmm.
everything top to bottom? Uh,
Which is usually pretty helpful when we do this show.
100%. And it doesn't hurt that, I don't just follow one exact team. I know as we kind of really got the gist of last season, it was a ton of Cleveland, Philadelphia talk with some general baseball sprinkled in there. Um, but I do enjoy watching other teams. It's fun to kind of see what they're doing, what each club has to bring to, the long season. Um, but obviously, I'm going to fork over that 150 and enjoy
Yeah.
all of the teams. But it's like I had said last year, towards the end when we only had a handful of episodes left, and then that final uh, episode, it's crazy how fast it goes.
Oh yeah.
Last year at the end, in that finale, we had said it felt like yesterday that we recorded the preseason episode like we are today. And yeah, it feels like just yesterday that we aired, or I should say recorded, and then subsequently published that finale episode. And in the blink of an eye, now we're already here recording it. I mean, now granted, obviously, I had a little bit of life happen. And so
Time
my
has passed.
time has passed rather quickly. But yeah, so. It was a quick off season, but it is exciting. It was a kind of crazy off season, but not at the same time. So
We definitely had
it's
movement. We had
you
movements.
could say that
We had
100%.
movements this year. We'll definitely get into those. Couple quick notes that we did mention that we do go into the lab, as I like to say, and we do go back and we do listen to ourselves. Not to mention
Hmm.
we do listen during the year as well, but we did take notes. We do audit ourselves as a show, as I would like to
Hmm.
say. We did make notes here, so we are going to change up some things. For one, like Michael mentioned, we did talk a little bit more about our teams last year. We're going to stick to a little bit more well-rounded show this year. We're going to try and stay The main show being well-rounded, the one show you're kind of used to hearing every week, is going to be
Hmm.
more well-rounded. There's going to be what we hopefully are going to call kind of mini episodes in there, which we are throwing out ideas on the name. I know we've come up with like two or three. You can say them if you
Hmm.
want to, because you're kind of the distinct holder of the names as it were right now. But we're going to use those as kind of a way to outlet to specifically those two markets because obviously we get very finite because obviously we wear their merchandise, we wear their stuff. We are very passionate about our hometown teams.
Hmm.
We're going to keep those separate. So there's going to be some small sub episodes. Feel free to listen to them if you don't, if you want. If you don't and you have no interest, that's okay. That's why we have the main show, which is
Exactly.
going to talk about all of baseball, which is the main goal of us right here. We are working on some cool things that are coming up here. I can tease that there may or may not be sponsorship involvement soon. I don't
Fingers
have,
crossed.
it's not done yet. I'm working on finalizing it, but we're getting there.
Hmm.
So that's a cool thing that's in the works that we're working on. But we also are, revamping the show, and Michael has been doing his due diligence to go back and listen to last year's episodes. The cuss counter has been on accounting,
Yes, it
and we
has.
are going to make a nice donation to a
Hmm.
charity of choice. If you have ideas of what charity that should be, please feel free to let us know. We are here for all ideas. I
Hmm.
know we've thrown out a few different options between the two of us, but we can definitely pick where that's going, and we will officially announce that once we have a final tally, most of which is going to come out of my pocket because I'm the one who doesn't know how to control his mouth. Um,
I
but it's
mean,
okay.
the listeners did hear that I dropped a few, words here and there as well. So,
Yeah, but
uh,
we all know who the predominant cusser is, and it's me.
oh, that's okay. The count that I've got so far, I have not said, okay, Richie said this one and this one and this one.
Oh
I
yeah,
said
no, you'd
that.
be there all day if you
It's
did that.
it's just going to be a generalized count. But
But there are different denominations for higher quality words. Let's just say that.
yes, there is. But yeah, Richie's right. Yeah, we're going back through the last season. Currently, have a long way to go, so it's something that probably won't come out until, if I had to just realistically guess, probably a month into the season, something like that. Um, but we will, whether it's Stand Up to Cancer, which is
Hmm.
a big organization that baseball works with, one of the youth programs that baseball
Yep.
works with, something like that. Well, or maybe, we'll split it in two, so one goes to one go. We'll figure it out.
We
But we are working on that, like
yes.
Richie alluded to. I guess this is kind of like our leading off segment
Yeah,
for
this
this
is leading
quickie.
off for right now is
Um,
mainly we're going to tell you what's coming this year
yeah.
because, you know, while we're going to get into baseball, we promise we will talk baseball in this
Oh,
episode. We
yes.
are not just going to talk about the show.
No.
Um, we are going to
We
get to baseball, but yeah, that's the lead off. This is the lead off.
exactly. So, it's season three, like we said, of What's on Second, a true baseball podcast. And the whole idea when we put a true baseball podcast is we want it to be about more than just Cleveland and Philadelphia. And admittedly, we kind of struggled with that last year. Not terribly, but like Richie said, we're just two passionate fans of our teams, so it's difficult to specifically zero in on that. Now, the longer we do this, it'll become a little more easier to kind of differentiate and to separate it.
Correct.
But like he said, we are kind of tinkering with how we would set up having our main bulk episodes, which is What's on Second, a true baseball podcast, and then a little mini episode, whether it's going to be bi-weekly, once a month, something like that. Um, and like he said, we're kind of tinkering with names. The current one, I'll just go ahead and say it,
Go ahead.
is going to be What's on Second, guarding the bell.
Hmm.
So that way it's, my Guardians, his Phillies, a little way to just zero in on our guys. And then, once Richie kind of hammers out all the details, if the sponsorship thing is something that we're going to be able to partner with and work on, we'll kind of inform you all on that as the that time comes and we
Hmm.
learn more about it. And then the other thing too is to look out for the same stuff on socials, Instagram and whatnot. We are going to potentially look at other social media platforms. Richie's been tinkering with some technologies and whatnot, and has kind of really figured out how to make video content a lot more crisp and better.
Yes.
So I know we had talked, or we tried to do the YouTube thing, and
We
just kind
still
of
are. That's going to get
yeah,
tinkered with again. So
exactly.
YouTube is definitely in the game. We're going to have some
Hmm.
YouTube Shorts, which is going to make it a
Hmm.
little easier, aka Facebook Reels, TikToks, whatever you want to call all those. They all
Exactly.
fall under the same umbrella, but we are going to
Hmm.
use them.
Hmm.
We are, I think, going to officially put TikTok into motion because it's not banned. Hallelujah. So we're going to use it.
Yeah.
We've been holding out for a little bit on that time frame, and that's selfishly probably more my fault than anything else. But we are going to we're done waiting.
Hmm.
TikTok's going to get to see what what's on seconds about. So is YouTube Shorts. More than that, we're going to get some other ones in there. Who knows? Maybe we'll even dabble in a LinkedIn. Let's go that route too. We might
Hmm.
throw that up there. We playing. We're going to try all social media content. Everybody's going to be able to see us. So the goal is also we want to really grow the show. Obviously, we love to have the passionate listeners that we do have all the time,
Mm.
from not only our friends and family, but also everybody that has stick with us this far. But we want to grow the show, and that's the biggest goal. And it's the goal we always had. This show is selfishly for Michael and I. We just can't help ourselves. So this is our way of talking it all out. But we do like having people to listen to.
Exactly.
It makes it more fun. So we are
And
definitely in the process of doing all of that to help grow.
and before we kind of get into the real meat and potatoes, because this the remember season one, season two, the main idea of both has been it's not going to be a terribly long episode, and then I run my mouth, say that, and it balloons into an epic, 4 hour long, what feels
We've
like,
never hit four
yeah,
hours, all right?
never.
We have never hit an Avengers level
Yeah,
of an episode. Thank the good Lord. But
but
we
we,
we are cutting down is the goal.
yes. Um, but so what's coming up the rest of this episode, we're just going to kind of go over quickly some of the bigger deals that were made over the offseason in terms of free agents, um, which will probably in turn include a little bit more focus centered ish Cleveland Philly talk. Um,
Not much Philly dog, I can
no,
promise you that. There's
I
not much
mean,
that happened.
not for Cleveland either. So it's
So
it's
we'll
par for the
breeze through
course.
those. It's really about really we're going to talk about New York and LA is where
Yep.
we're going to New
Um,
York and LA.
And then, we can't have even a preseason episode of What's on Second without ending it with Bach Talk.
We do
So
have Bach talk.
I have a quick one. Richie has one, and then he has a little kind of like game fun segment at the end. Um, and then we'll kind of get it rolling. I think uh, one thing that I know we talked about towards the end last year during the playoffs, specifically the World Series, I'll kind of get this ish off-season thing underway with this.
Okay.
Those two goons that grabbed Mookie in what was that game
5.
five, and ripped the ball out of his glove. Yeah,
Hmm.
they got told you can't come to the rest of the World Series. Oh yeah, no big deal. Well, it turns out MLB has banned them uh,
Permanently.
permanently from all stadiums, and
Thank God.
I thoroughly enjoyed going through the comments like, "Oh, it's stupid. That's this. It's that." How are they going to enforce it? It's 2025.
Yeah, I
Like
was going to say.
Disney has technology and their parks to where if they have someone who's been banned from property and they try to come on, they'll nab you with facial recognition.
And
These,
biometrics.
yes, these baseball parks are going to be right behind them. Um,
They already
the,
have. I mean, you look at tickets now, they've already started that process. So like, I
mhm.
mean, you almost take your picture to get into with a ticket now. It's wild how it works. But
Exactly. Um, but so we'll kind of hop into this free agent
yes,
overview of how the offseason has gone. I think the quickest way we'll be able to get through it is just to go by position and
done. Works for
point out
me.
a few instead of going by, well, Juan Soto signed here, Alex Bregman just signed, that sort of thing.
Some people are still in the unsigned
Oh,
shocker
it's
of all shockers.
Oh, 100%. So just starting off with catcher, there weren't any huge names out there. The longest deal that was signed, there were three 2-year deals. Kyle Higashioka with Texas on a 2-year, Travis d'Arnaud with the Angels, kind of oddly, on a 2-year
Oh,
deal. He'll get dealt at some point. Um,
yeah, oh yeah.
Carson Kelly, 2-year deal with the Cubs. And then, my personal favorite,
Austin
uh,
Hedges.
yes. Now, granted, when they re-signed him, there were quite a few Guardians fans. God, it's only been a few years and I'm still saying Indians.
Yeah,
But
it's okay. We'll give you a
uh,
pass.
thank you. Quite a few Guardians fans were like, "Oh, what's the point of this? He didn't hit well, yada yada." And it's that's where it's like, and just what I hear is fair weather fans not understanding how important clubhouse chemistry is and having someone that can, really help morale out. Um, Especially, a squad that in large part is the same coming back, minus a couple of people. Um, so we'll kind of see how that goes. Uh, but did any of those catchers kind of stand out to you or
I mean,
not?
Darno going to LA, like you said, he's going to get dealt. He's mainly going there. All these catchers are mostly backup deals. The only one that's
Hmm.
kind of shocked me was Danny Jensen going for as little as he did, and he went to Tampa Bay. He only signed a 1 year deal with Tampa,
Hmm.
which was kind of shocking. He's much better than that. I know he's kind of split time with in Toronto and now recently with Boston, but he's better than that. So it's kind of shocking that a 30-year-old catcher is only getting a 1 year deal.
Hmm.
Shows you the market of catchers right now. It's just not where you're going to spend a lot of money unless you've got a supremely unique catcher in like Adley Rushman, you know, back in the day, Salvi,
Yeah.
JT Realmuto's, those kind of names. Unless they're a big name, they ain't getting that kind of contract. So it's a lot of 1 year, 2 year deals. Higashioka's backing up in Texas. Darno's backing up as long as healthy for LA. And
Hmm.
he's going to DH, kind of what he did there. I was very surprised that Atlanta didn't try to match that deal, but I think that there's obviously a reason. So Atlanta usually has a reason for their no deals on those things. So
Yeah.
obviously there was something in the water there, so we'll let it.
I think in that regard, they're counting and banking on Sean Murphy having a healthy year.
Yeah,
Um,
and
and
they must have a backup in the wings that's ready to go, a young
that
kid or something.
either a backup or like we just both said, he'll end up getting dealt and who
Make
would
it
be
back.
surprised?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
To be fair, it makes sense he signed in LA because of Ron Washington
Yeah.
ties to Atlanta for a long time.
Yeah.
Although
Um,
we have, I think we've extensively talked about how terrible that franchise is, so we'll move on.
So for the first baseman, I think, not entirely surprising, but Justin Turner's still unsigned, Anthony Rizzo's unsigned. The writing may be on the wall there for both of them, although I wouldn't be terribly shocked if they get minors deals or are picked up once injuries start to kind of come
I was
up.
gonna say Rizzo's not gonna be left out. Rizzo will
No.
sign at some point. He may not be
Hmm.
signed right now, but he will sign at some point. Turner
Yeah.
is a different animal. He's already 40. I mean, he's up there. He's played a long
Yeah.
career. He may end up going to like in LA or something like that as a minor league deal, as a
Yeah.
waiting in the wings kind of thing. But
Yeah.
the ones I
The
will say that surprised me, I was
mhm.
surprised at the Goldschmidt deal. I thought that was the worst pick for the Yankees to go with, especially when they were rumored to be in on Walker,
Yeah.
in on Alonso. To settle for Goldschmidt, not that Goldschmidt's bad, and I'm not. This is not me bashing Paul Goldschmidt. Everybody that's a
Hmm.
Paul Goldschmidt fan, like he's a great player. He's 37. He's also a shell of what he was. Now it's gonna help. He's gonna be playing in that little league ballpark as his home field, so
Yeah.
he's gonna have better power numbers this year. But he's not gonna protect Judge. He's
Mm.
not gonna protect anybody. Frankly, he's probably gonna be, 6, 7 in that lineup maybe at best, with everything going on. Uh, I was really surprised Houston took another swing at a big time first baseman in the sense because the Abreu deal went so south so fast.
Yeah.
I know it's a position in need for him, but I was just stunned they signed Christian Walker. I'm also surprised Christian Walker liked that deal. Um, we'll see. That could play out really well. That could play out horribly. It's all a curious thing for me on that one. Pete
Yeah.
Alonso signing with the Mets again. While I was kind of hopeful he wouldn't go back just so that way I didn't have to see him all the time. I'm not surprised he's there. So Honestly, I kind of almost half expected the Mets to go grab Rizzo because I thought he
Mm.
would provide more value. But then again, Alonso is 30 versus 35. Totally makes sense.
I
Um,
think another thing is, Alonso had a 5 WAR, and on
true.
top of that, Rizzo only had a point 0.5. So whilst, you know,
Yeah.
Justin Turner's 40, 5 years older than Rizzo, he still had a 2.2 WAR, which is nothing to like get excited about, but
Better
better
than
than
point
not.
0.5.
Yeah. Um, sorry, Christian Walker had a 6.8. He's 34, so he's not young, but he is an outstanding defender
Gosh,
that he
yes.
showed in Arizona. Has great numbers. The Crawford box in left field's going to be nice for him.
Yep.
I mean, it made sense to me for them to go out and sign him. Kind of like you said, I'm surprised he didn't go to the Yankees, but
I don't
at
know
the
if the
same
Yankees
time,
pursued him hard enough. That's
no.
the only thing I think it was.
No. I think they're going to just try and bank on Goldschmidt. Um, I am surprised to a lowercase small degree with Alonso because, he was going for what was it, the Eric Hosmer or some in like 9 year, a big, big money deal.
Yeah,
And
but he's definitely not worth that. And
no.
every other team came back and showed him that. And it was
And
kind of like the Mets were kind of like, go find out what your value is and
yeah,
like report back
yep.
the quote unquote Saquon Barkley deal, as I like to call it. That
Yes.
went definitely belly up on the Giants. But but
Um,
yeah,
look
he was
look at his
never
own,
getting that.
look at his agent. Like I don't
Boris.
doubt that Pete, wanted to get, I think either more guaranteed money or more years, but I'm not shocked with how it went, but how it turned out with him going back to the Mets. Um, Now the other thing of note is Cleveland brought back Carlos Santana
I thought
for
that was a
first
fun
base.
one. I like
Uh,
that one actually. I thought that was a
Now
cool deal.
Now he's 39, so he is way up there in age, but he's still got a 4.5 WAR. Had a good season by pretty decent or at least average standards with the Twins,
Yeah.
and he always seems to just relax and come into his own when he's a member of the Cleveland Guardians. So, I mean, also this shows that the obvious, the elephant in the room, Cleveland traded Josh Naylor to the Diamondbacks, which I knew that they would probably be calling Cleveland, or at least I had a good feeling when Walker signed in Houston,
I forget which
and
deal came first. I can't
Walker
remember
did.
if Walker signed first or if it was the other way around. But
Mm.
yeah, exactly. Once Walker was done,
Yeah,
you
it,
knew they needed a first baseman bad.
but but my thing is, I mean, it was pretty much Naylor traded and then Santana immediately signed. I'm not mad about it. I just kind of my thought process was trade Naylor and make Manzardo the first baseman. But what it kind of, if I had to guess, what it's going to end up being is Manzardo's going to be the primary DH. Um, I,
Really? I
yeah,
thought that
I
was going to
think
be the
so.
other way around completely. This is
Um,
news to me. I'm really shocked.
yeah. So they just did, I think MLB's Facebook page had a projected lineup, and
Weird.
in it they had Manzardo as the DH in the number 2 slot behind Stephen Kwan, which I don't like that. And I don't think that's going to be how it is. I like
I
seeing
don't
some
either.
variety in there, and Lane Thomas should be up there in the number 2 slot. Although,
Yeah. Also, maybe righty lefty. Just
yes.
saying.
But the other thing I disagreed with from that projected lineup is I love Will Brennan, but they had Will Brennan as the primary right fielder. I don't know how in the world you can make Will Brennan the starting right fielder over John Kenzie
I
when
was gonna say John
sure,
Kenzie.
sure, Noel, he cooled off drastically towards the end of the year, but he had clutch hits and it plays in the postseason, and one of the best postseason calls I've ever heard. Um,
Yep.
but but he is a good defender, especially when you look at his size, and you don't. He almost seems like a prototypical first baseman, but he's a good defender. And he brings pop, and I'm sorry, you're not looking for John Kenzie Noel to go up there and hit 320 with 15 homers. You're looking for him to go out there, hit 250, 260 with hopefully 30. because he's got that type of power, if not 40. So to me, John Kinsey should be in right. Manzardo should ultimately be the first baseman, but I'm not
Correct.
mad with having Carlos back. It's a good vet presence to have, and it's a very Cleveland move. Um,
True.
but outside of that, that's kind of the gist for the first baseman.
Yep. Not really much
Um,
else there.
yeah,
A couple of guys still out there on the market. G-Man Choi, which is surprising to me. I think he's better than what he showed in Tampa. I think he gets a shot somewhere in a minor league deal. Rowdy Tellez is still out there. Somebody will take a chance on him. He got the raw end of that deal last year from Pittsburgh. We all know
yep.
about that, and we're not going to go revisit that if you want to. That's in last year's episode. We lost our minds. That was definitely a what's got you heated. It almost set us aflame. So uh, going on here, the least popular position, obviously, this year in all of anything, it seems like, was second baseman because nobody signed above a 1 year deal. Most notable guy to sign is Gleyber Torres with a 1 year deal in Detroit, which
I
does
actually
not
like
make sense to me.
it doesn't make sense, but I like the deal. Detroit could use players like Gleyber Torres to come in and help fill their squad out
Yeah, but
because
I mean,
they
you already have one kind of question mark in there with a kind of deal like that in Javi Baez. Why put another giant question mark guy in almost the same position? Obviously, he's not a shortstop, but like he just doesn't fit there. I mean, God, Javi Baez didn't play all playoffs. Like,
so I mean, I will say where it gets confusing is you've got an established third baseman in Matt Vierling. You have the your shortstop, presumably of the future, in Trey Sweeney, and
yep,
then you have a for sure second baseman of the future in
Colt
Colt
Keith.
Keith. Um, and I mean, now granted, unless Gleyber Torres plays first, and they either get rid of Torque or this
I
is,
think it's still
they
too early to
signed,
get rid of Torque.
yeah. Yeah, I like it because it's Detroit showing we're gonna try and make us better all around. We'll get to another, I think, important addition that they made in a few positions here,
I do have a
but
question for you though, because we are
yeah,
talking about Detroit and this. Sorry, second baseman, we're gonna breeze by you because there's not much here. But but with this, there was something I was thinking about. Are the Tigers the AL equivalent of the Giants in the NL? Because they always seem, now obviously the Giants did make a big signing this year and we'll get to that. But like they always seem to miss out on their guy that they want as like their big name that they want to bring in for whatever reason. And now I don't know what those reasons are. There's a million of them. Some it's ballpark, some it's location, whatever. But like taking out all those factors, like the Tigers are a good team this year. Like they should
yeah.
be competing in the Central this year for a majority of it. The Central in the AL is going to be a juggernaut this year if you look at
Mhm.
everything. If everything stays pat and everybody stays healthy. Of course, that never happens, but like, let's just say it does.
Well, Vegas has the Guardians odds to win they're like the fourth best odds to win the American League Central, with I think Kansas City above them, Detroit, and it's either Kansas City and Detroit or Detroit and Kansas City, and then because Minnesota is still apparently relevant, Minnesota has the betting odds in Vegas to win. But
Really? Do they
all of that being
really? That
said,
makes no sense.
all of that being said, all those margins and the betting lines are like razor thin. So it's
Right.
more or less Vegas has the American League Central as a toss up,
Toss up. Yeah.
which I totally agree with. I mean, I want to look at Cleveland and be like, yeah, they're the team to beat, which is true because they're the reigning division champs.
Right. They have the title.
But but look at how Detroit did last year, and they've arguably made themselves better. Kansas City is just going to keep getting better. And
Hmm.
then Minnesota, I understand why they're still like the projected winner of the division because they've been the class of it for the last few years. So I get it. Um, but it's going to be interesting, and I could see Detroit being like the San Francisco, to answer your question. But I feel like they're going to be the ones that actually start spending more money
I would agree.
because you have a generational ace in Skubal coming up on free agency.
Hmm.
We have seen Detroit not be afraid to go out and spend money, particularly, like when they extended Miguel. when they signed Prince Fielder. You know, they'll if they're like Cleveland where they're not just going to go and spend on anyone and anything except for Javi Baez, which they're probably, in my opinion, looking at that and being like, this is why we don't do that. So we're only going to bring Gleyber Torres in on a 1 year deal, see how it goes, and go from there.
Look,
And
any deal like that, there's always going to be those deals that happen that fall apart, like a Javi Baez, Taiwan Walker. You can name a
mhm,
million of them. That Steven Strasburg even re-signing in Washington.
yeah,
Do we need to say the name Anthony Rendon?
it's
Like I think we all get the
the
point.
worst deal in the history of
History of
baseball.
all time, and yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I every time there's going to be some. I think that there's going to be better. I think you still have to make those risks, and obviously they're a calculated organization. I'm not saying they're not.
yeah,
It's just funny to me because it seems like they're always in on these big name people, and they're always second fiddle.
yeah,
They were second fiddle on Bregman, who obviously we'll get to in a little bit here, but like they're second fiddle on, you know, numerous names, and that's why it just reminded me of that comparison really
yeah.
quick. Um,
We'll go ahead and move to shortstops.
and speaking of San Francisco,
The big signing. They went out and got Willie Adames on a 7 year deal. 29 years old, 8 WAR, fantastic player to go and get. I think it's a great step for San Francisco, especially because they have a great manager still in Bob Melvin. And they have good pieces to where if they come into their own, will make them competitive. It's just unfortunate that they're in the same division as LA, Arizona, and San Diego, but that's just akin to the American League Central. Um,
oh
and
no, the American League Central has a bunch of toss-ups. The NL West has a clear
well,
juggernaut,
no, 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 no.
and
That's
then a
not what I
bunch of other
meant.
ones. Okay,
No,
okay,
so
okay.
it's
I was
more
like, wait a
so
minute, hold on now.
the American League Central is a complete toss-up, whereas the I'm talking about just getting into the playoffs. So I'm not talking
Okay,
about
okay, okay. I'm with you now. Sorry,
division.
I had to laugh because that was too
Yeah.
funny for me. Yeah.
No, like obviously LA is going to win the division, unfortunately, but it just got to wait and see, But in
Fingers
terms of those
crossed.
those wild card spots, I mean, you're going to now have potentially three teams out of the West competing for two, or sorry, three. You're going to have arguably two, maybe three teams in general in the NL Central vying for playoff spots, let alone that NL East. So
Mm. Yeah, I think
it's
you're talking two out of the West, one, two out of the East, battling that'll battle for the last for the three. How it
yeah,
ends up is kind of interesting. I don't think the Central gets a wild card. I think you got to win the Central, sadly. Uh,
mhm,
I think the Central's just in that point where it's not going to
yeah.
go. But anyway, yeah. Okay, my question to you on this with the Adamas deal, because it's a very interesting deal, and happy that San Francisco finally got one. Like they
Yeah,
finally won. Um, do you think Adamas is going to have just as good of numbers, or do you think he's going to suffer out there?
I think he's going to have just as good of numbers. I think some will change, maybe power,
Sure.
um, because of just how much of a pitcher's park that Oracle Park plays as. But I think ultimately he's going to be fine. We'll just kind of have to wait and see, how he
Yeah,
transitions to the West Coast and to being in a cooler environment. I mean, now granted,
sure.
Milwaukee's cold, but
Well, they
you're
also have a
indoors.
half a dome too.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be fun to see how he transitions. I think he'll still be one of the top players in the league. I think you'll just see some of the home run power drop a little, not significantly. But he's just going to turn into a doubles and extra base hit machine.
Yeah.
Um, just a few other notables. Ha-Seong Kim signed a 2 year deal with Tampa Bay. Um, and then outside of that, it's a bunch of 1 years. Paul DeYoung, Washington, Kevin Newman, LA, the Angels, Ahmed Rosario, the Nationals. And then Jose Iglesias is still unsigned. Find that to be surprising a little bit, but he'll get picked up by someone at some point. Um,
He also may just call it. I don't know if he's ever going to have a year like he had last year.
no.
That was wild.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's funny the notable down here that the last guy on the list here that we both have, Tim Anderson, from being the superstar that he was, goes to a negative 1.6 WAR last year over, I think, at least two or three teams that I can't even
Hmm.
remember. One of them being the Marlins. Um, is signing with a minor league deal with the Angels. What a fall from grace that guy has had. Holy
Yeah,
cow. Uh,
no joke.
yeah. Moving on.
Um, Third base, like we've alluded to, Alex Bregman signed with the Red Sox on a 3-year deal and will be their primary second baseman.
I was gonna say, not gonna be a third
Um,
baseman anymore.
no, Rafael Devers has just come out and been like, I'm a third baseman, and as much of kind of that sounds egotistical and whatnot,
He is a
he's
better
kind of earned
player.
it.
Yeah.
Um, and especially when you're the face of your franchise,
Yeah.
you're gonna get that choice.
Yeah.
I think it's a good deal. It plays to his strengths, especially with the monster. And actually, the Red Sox drafted Bregman out of high school, and Bregman turned it down, went to LSU, had a great career there, and then ultimately
Signed
went
with
to
the
Houston.
Astros. Yeah.
Um, Josh Rojas signed a 1-year deal with the White Sox. John Birdie 1 year with the Cubs. Yohan Moncada signed a 1-year deal with the Angels, so he's going to get a little bit of change of scenery. And they have come out and said that he is going to be their primary third baseman because their other third baseman that no one remembers because he is irrelevant at this point is TBD. Let alone they just announced that he's likely going to have I think, hip procedure that is going to have him out long term.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Um,
Yeah, I was gonna say not much to talk about with third base. There's pretty much we were all waiting for Bregman's chip to fall, and he finally fell into Boston.
yeah.
And now he's not going to be a third baseman anymore, which again doesn't really surprise us. I honestly
Hmm.
don't think he was going to be a third baseman even if he went back to Houston. I think he was going
Yep.
to move positions there. So, all in all,
Moving
moving on.
moving on to left field, the two big guys that signed Tyler O'Neill with the Orioles, which okay, I mean that's not going to be bad because they're moving that uh, tundra long cavernous left field wall in, so that should help him out. Jurickson Profar kind of surprised me and did not stay in San Diego, but signed a 3-year deal with Atlanta.
I don't
Um,
love that deal. I love that deal for. Okay, let me rephrase that. I don't love that deal being a Phillies side of it. I think he's dangerous.
mhm,
Now, granted, he's left San Diego and done nothing because
yeah,
he has done this before.
yep,
I I don't think that's going to happen in Atlanta. I just
yeah,
don't think so. I think like the Colorado deal was one thing, like
mhm,
it's Colorado. Let's call it what it is.
yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen again here. So that's a different one. I also think another one we need to mention, Michael Conforto signing a 1-year deal with the Dodgers.
Who
Don't
didn't
know
sign with
if,
the Dodgers?
yeah, I don't know if, I don't know if that's actually going to mean that he's going to be basically the Josh Hayward replacement because it seems like that kind of sitting in the wings because they have so many names out there. I don't know how they're going to play
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah,
Eventually somebody's got to go.
yeah.
So very interesting with that. Another one that's interesting, just as a really low ball, Brian De La Cruz, the former
Mm.
Pirate, and was somewhere else. I forget where he went, but whatever. Is
Atlanta,
Atlanta is now he is with Atlanta, and Dylan Carlson also signed with
Baltimore.
Baltimore.
I
Very minor
think
deals.
two guys that are still unsigned to watch out for. Mark Canha, he
Yep.
is 36, so he's a little on the older side, but he's got a 2.7 WAR, still can help at least on a bench. And Alex Verdugo, uh, who's still only 29, is yet to be signed. I think both of those guys will end up being picked up at some
The-
point.
Verdugo definitely will. It's a matter of time.
Hmm.
I think Verdugo is there's something underlying there. There's got to
Hmm.
be more than what meets the eye. The Yankees didn't just sell him up the river for no reason,
Yeah.
and there's something up. What it is,
Um,
I don't think we'll ever find out, but there's
yeah.
something up.
Center field's gonna be real quick. Harrison Bader 1 year to Minnesota. I like the deal for them.
Yep.
Get him a different change of scenery, prove
I
it
was kind
deal,
of
that
hoping
sort
he
of
would be a
thing.
Philly, honestly. I was really hoping that would be like a sneaky signing, but it didn't
Well,
work.
I'm upset with the Phillies now for letting him go to Minnesota because
He ain't
he
gonna
likes to
do
hit.
any. He ain't gonna do it. He ain't gonna do anything in Minnesota.
Um,
It takes that ballpark takes all his power away unless he
yeah,
pulls everything, and he doesn't. His home runs are usually center field or right. Believe it or not, he's an
yeah.
oppo guy.
Michael A. Taylor, 1-year deal to the White Sox. That's
Good
just
luck.
Yep. And then honestly, the only other one is Garrett Hampson, who is a minor league deal to Arizona. I think that's a good piece for them to have on the bench because he's a fast guy, can help give some of their outfielders a little bit of a break if they need a day or two here.
And one other guy I'll mention here too. I know he's not really a center fielder. He's kind of the super utility man, but Kike's going back to the
I love
Dodgers.
Kike. I just would,
Not surprised he's going back to the Dodgers, but he's going back
yeah.
to the Dodgers.
So we'll go ahead and get this,
This mammoth right field, because this is where everything is.
Juan Soto proved me right and said, okay, I'm going to go across the city here to Queens, join the Mets on a 15-year deal.
I'm gonna need you to stop predicting that next time. That was not the prediction I wanted. I wanted
Well,
anything else from that.
it has been, I'm sorry, Yankees fans, but it has been glorious to absolutely eat up,
That part
soak
has been
in,
fun.
and love them losing their minds. Oh my God, why would he leave us? This, and that, blah, blah, blah. Really, it's probably more of a lateral move, to be totally honest,
Mhm.
because looking at what the projected Yankees lineup is going to be, still good. They've had an incredible offseason, and
Good
just
Lord.
being honest. But if Judge goes down, ooh, and
Bye
that
bye.
lineup's really, yeah.
Bye bye.
Um,
Done.
Whereas, going over to Queens, if, Lindor goes down, Vientos is on his way up.
Yep.
Um, Francisco Alvarez, I feel like will end up being a really good catcher. And then you've got Alonso. The Mets look
Alvarez won't stay catcher, I don't think. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you, but
no, you're good.
Alvarez eventually won't be a catcher. He's gonna have to move out of there. He's just not staying healthy enough.
Yeah.
He's not durable enough. He's gonna end up becoming a first baseman. I
Hmm.
think you see that start to happen this year. I know the
Hmm.
Alonso deal happened, and that's for like 3 years, and that makes total
Yeah.
sense because he's
Um,
still young. He can still figure out how to catch. He's gonna
no,
transition out of catching. He'll be a first baseman before he's
yeah. Now I will say, I like the Mets still, but I'm just not sold on the pitching. I know they got to where they did last year, but
That's what I'm hoping.
yeah. Absolutely. I would call you silly if that were not the case, but I'm just not convinced on both their bullpen and the rotation. Um,
Their
but
bullpen is rough.
yeah. But that Soto deal is the biggest one. Then
Yep.
Anthony Santander, 5-year deal in Toronto, which I don't mind, but Toronto had to do something. So
I will tell you this. Okay, so question mark because you put this out there, and I know I'm interrupting you, and I'm doing a really
you're
bad
good.
job of that today, so I apologize. But um,
Mhm.
with the Santander deal, does that obviously Boston's made a lot of deals this year. New York is retooled in a way.
Mhm.
I'd say they're about even. They retooled with stuff, but like they
Yeah.
retooled. Boston has gotten a whole bunch of deals.
Yep.
The Toronto is getting healthy and retooling while adding a person like Santander. Did Baltimore fall all the way down to the bottom of this division this year just because they didn't do much?
I feel like the Yankees are the cream of the crop right now. They just went to the World Series. They won
Absolutely.
the division.
As
They
much as we
they
hate saying it.
deserve. Yep, they deserve. To be the front runner in the AL East. I truly kind of feel like Boston is the number two, kind of maybe honestly right behind them. I could
Oh
easily
yeah.
see the Red Sox winning the division if injuries kind of hit the Yankees, but I think it's Boston second. I think Toronto is in a bit of a toss-up with Baltimore. I would still say Baltimore third, Toronto fourth. But because I need to see Toronto turn it around from what they did the
That's
last,
totally fair.
at least last year. If Vlad has a fantastic year, if Bo comes back and is Bo Bichette, if, Santander has a year like he did in Baltimore, and their pitching, really kind of kicks it into gear, then yeah, it'll be Toronto at least in third, if not maybe second or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, it's the AL East is going to be tough.
Yeah, the AL
Um,
East became a juggernaut in its own right. So
yeah,
the AL East just added onto that. So now it's not, we had one juggernaut last year in the Central because there was like four, I mean, all four teams were basically in there minus
yeah.
I know Chicago's in there too, and I'm sorry, White Sox fans, but you got no shot.
Yeah,
But now you've got all the teams in the AL East are ready to fight,
yeah.
which is nuts.
Um,
Well, minus Tampa, kind of, sort of.
yeah.
We'll put Tampa at the bottom of that echelon too. But
So
yeah,
I'll just finish off the right fielders with one
go
more, and
ahead.
that's Teoscar re-signing with LA because like I said, LA signed everyone this year. Uh,
Kings of the deferred money, baby.
however, it's I I didn't see him going anywhere else.
No.
He revived his career. He looked like a lethal weapon in that lineup. They were going to find some way to do it. Um, designated hitter, there's really only one of note, which
I'm gonna do
is,
one more right fielder for you really
are
quick
you
because
doing
he's
Max
not.
Kepler?
Yeah, I am gonna say Max Kepler because because it's weird and it's a weird signing, and that's the reason why I'm bringing it up because I don't think he's gonna play right field.
Uh-huh.
And if he, okay, I think he's gonna play right field, but the rumor right now is that he's gonna play left field, and I don't
Hmm.
love that. Put Nick in left field and let him
Yeah.
go to right field.
Hmm.
That's all I'm going to say on it. It's a weird signing. I don't know how it's going to work out. I really hope it does, but that's all I want to say on it. I think it's just a weird one to bring up. That's all. But
Yeah.
yeah, designated hitter, one guy.
Jock, 2-year deal in Texas, which I kind of like, but also they might actually uh, flirt with him taking some reps at first base,
Makes
which would be
sense.
interesting.
Doc was
JD's,
never a bad fielder. He just never he was never good. He
yeah,
wasn't a great fielder, but he
yeah,
was never a bad fielder.
I agree. JD's still unsigned, I believe, or this
Yep.
isn't updated, but I mean, he is 37 and he's a DH only, but he had a three WAR, so again, might be able to help someone out. Probably will at some point. Kutch 1-year deal with Pitt. No
Yep.
other thing would happen there, and I like to see it. The only other one of note is Eloy Jimenez signing a minor league deal with the Rays. I think that'll end up
He'll
he'll end
play.
up yeah, he's gonna play because he's 28. He's got a lot of potential upside. He's just never healthy. Um, going to starters, which is
A
quite the long
slew.
list,
Yeah, well,
but
we're gonna have to
we'll just
shrink it.
oh yeah, we'll just hit a few here. The big one being Corbin Burns signing a 6-year deal with the Diamondbacks came out of nowhere, which I like it because it gives Arizona a headache of what do we do? Because Jordan Montgomery has dropped weight, apparently is reported to camp in better shape. Uh, but when you've got a starting five of Corbin Burns, Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Eduardo Rodriguez, and then that fifth spot being either Brendan Pfaadt, I think Ryan Nelson, some other kid that did fairly well for him, or Jordan Montgomery. I would probably err on it. In my opinion, it should be Pfaadt getting that fifth spot, but with the amount of money you spent on Montgomery, unless you trade him, then why would you have a $22 million long relief pitcher?
I'll give you another alternative to that. They go six man. They might
Yeah.
be one of the best teams to go six man, and it
Yep.
may spare them innings on some of those arms. Obviously,
Yep.
Corbin's not a problem, but like he's a
Mhm.
workhorse. We're used to that.
Yeah.
But like saving some of those arms, like Eduardo, who keeps on ending up on the injury block.
Yeah.
Montgomery had his slew of injuries last year. You know,
Hmm.
you know, it could save them. So that
Yeah.
could be a big thing for them. I think that would be. I think they would go six man. Now,
Yeah.
granted, they have to decide that, and then obviously when playoffs come, you pick your best whoever,
Yeah.
because they're definitely going to be a contender for playoffs.
Blake Snell, 5-year deal with, of course, the Dodgers.
Blah.
Um, you say Kikuchi, 3-year deal with the Angels. Um, the other big signing, Max Fried, 8-year deal with the Yankees, which screams a Yankees deal
Yeah, it's a
because,
Yankee deal.
yeah, which I honestly kind of like, but we'll see how he, plays in New York.
Mhm.
Um, And then the other one, which I had kind of referenced to, Jack Flaherty, 2-year deal with Detroit, which
Love
I
that
really
deal.
like. Love it. And it benefits them because, essentially they didn't lose out on anything except for, maybe they get past Cleveland if Flaherty were still on their staff last year. But at the trade deadline, Detroit was squandering, and then they just turned it into high gear. And then my last note, and then I'll turn it over for your what you think about the starters. John Means just signed a one-year deal today with Cleveland. He was a left-handed pitcher with the the Orioles, and had some really good outings with them, showed some good stuff. Had Tommy John last year, so it's a weird deal. It's a one-year deal with a club option for 26. He likely, if I had to guess, won't be back unless he pitches in September like Cobb and Boyd did. But I think Cleveland did the right thing in regards to if he is able to come back this year, they'll have him for a stretch run, the playoffs, and then all of 26, unlike Matt Boyd, who ended up taking his talents to the Cubs.
Hmm.
And then Alex Cobb did to Detroit, although Cobb's going to be out at least a month with another hip issue, which that is why I'm not mad that the Guardians didn't re-sign him because he is just an
Yep.
injury risk.
Yeah, he's
Um,
sadly.
but do you have any more thoughts on starters?
Mania re-signing with the Mets is a big deal, especially since he kind of since he took over that kind of side sling throwing that he learned basically watching Chris Sale.
Uh-huh.
So that one's a good one to watch. Uh,
Hmm.
we got to give flowers to the team that signed their biggest signing of all time, which is the Athletics, signing Luis Severino to a 2-year deal.
Yep.
Congratulations, Luis. I'm glad you got your money, but your deal, you're gonna suffer. I mean, the funnier thing is that deal is not even going to get him all the way through to his to them being in Vegas, which is hilarious to me, but hey, what
Yeah.
are you gonna do? A lot of good names still out there. You're gonna see a lot of names get signed here as injuries occur because they're definitely gonna be out there. A couple ones to watch. Spencer Turnbull, not signed right now, had that big start to the season with the Phillies. Got hurt. Lance Lynn is still out there. Patrick Corbin is a free agent. Good luck getting him. Good luck with that one. One that I think is very interesting. Jose Quintana is still out there, and I think Quintana's a really good pitcher.
Yeah.
Really surprised he's not signed anywhere. Um, with everything going on. But yet, the two guys that seem to always get signed, the old men, Mr. Max Scherzer signed for another 1-year deal, and so does Justin Verlander. Really interesting that both those guys keep getting 1-year deals and getting
I I
signed.
like both though. So I like San Francisco because Justin's going to really help out their starters,
Yep.
mentoring them, and the same thing with Max in Toronto. Um, but to round out this free agent talk is the
Yep.
relief pitchers. Again, Dodgers. Tanner Scott,
Yep.
four-year deal, and is going to be their primary closer, which I think is the right call. Jeff Hoffman, three-year deal with Toronto. Aroldis Chapman, one-year deal in Boston. That's an interesting one, but I like it. He's still under the relief pitcher market or designation on this article, but Clay Holmes, three-year deal with the Mets, although they're going to stretch him out as a starter.
Very weird.
Weird, but I mean, to be honest, when Rich Hill signed with the Dodgers forever ago, and they turned him into a starter, and he was a damn good one,
True.
yeah, I'm gonna go with it. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt.
Yep.
Um, Carlos Estevez, two-year deal, Kansas City. That's gonna be a good deal. I feel like Kirby Yates, wonderful. 1 year in LA. And then for my guys, well, a couple others, Jimmy Garcia, 2-year deal in Toronto, he goes back. And AJ Minter, 2-year deal with the Mets, probably going to be a good signing for them ultimately. And then just recently, Cleveland signed Jacob Junis to a 1-year deal to help, I think, out their bullpen. So
Yeah.
that rounds out my kind of take on the relief pitchers. What do you say?
Estevez is interesting. I think that's a weird one, but it'll work well if they protect him with Ursig.
Hmm.
Um, Chapman signing with Boston, not surprising, really a good deal. Clay
Hmm.
Holmes deal is going to be a mess, I think. I think that's going to implode. I don't know
Hmm.
why they wouldn't put him into the bullpen because well, I mean, he's not a great bullpen arm either. He's just a
Yeah.
risk in all worlds. I think the best deals, obviously, we talk about Tanner Scott. It's fine. I think the interesting, I mean, yeah, it's the Dodgers and that annoys us, but like, we can think about that.
Yeah.
The Jeff Hoffman deal is a weird one. So I was actually really hoping the Phillies would re-sign him, and then the stuff came out that he was signed to a couple different teams and he failed physicals. There's something
Hmm.
going on in his arm. I think it's his
Hmm.
shoulder or his elbow, one of the two. I hope to God he's healthy. Like I don't want to see him getting hurt. Like this is probably his chance to cash in. And I mean, like, is there ever going to be another version of that in like where you kind of find him out of clear thin air? No, I mean that's definitely hard to find out, but
Yeah.
it would be. I hope he's healthy enough. I hope it doesn't come back and bite him. But I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, a lot of these deals, not surprising. A lot of good. I will say this: Texas retooled their bullpen. Their bullpen's going to be very, very good.
Hmm.
Um, Interesting that y'all signed Seawald in Cleveland. I don't know how that fits.
I don't either.
I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest with you, because I think Seawald got exposed the more he pitches. As long as he's not, well, he's definitely not your closer because if he's your eighth inning guy, I like that idea.
He's not
Um,
gonna be. So one of
that's true because he's not.
so
Because you
well,
got what's his name?
Kate Smith and
Thank you.
I think MLB Network or someone like top 10 bullpen pitchers. I was listening to this over the weekend when uh, Jessica and I were driving back from our honeymoon and on Sirius XM, and they had talked about how these top 10 rankings of bullpen pitchers, and Class A for the most part on everyone's was number one, and Cade Smith was cracking top five, top four even.
Absolutely.
Because he had such a good rookie showing. Now, obviously, we have to see how his sophomore season goes, but um,
I like it.
there is zero reason to not have Cade Smith be the setup guy, have
For
Hunter
once, lock
Gaddis,
that dang position down for you guys.
and
Jeez, oh Pete.
and then Hunter Gaddis is like the seventh inning guy,
Yep.
and then from there you have Trevor Stephan who's going to be coming back. Hopefully he's good and on point like he had been, and then on top of that, Seawald, Jacob Junit, like the Guardians have all the workings to have a good, the best bullpen in baseball again.
Again.
Now you've got to hope that, they're not all spent from last year and hope that vote doesn't overdo it, but we'll see. It's a new year. We got to get started into it.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, nobody really else to think about.
Yeah.
I think we've kind of run through everybody there. So, yeah, no, it's interesting. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun this year
Yeah.
with seeing all these new names in new places, and definitely upended divisions
Oh yeah.
with everything going on. So I know we have some balk talks here.
I
Do you want to go first on your balk
yeah.
talk? Go
I'll
for it.
get it out of the way. I mean, this is something that could honestly probably be an entire episode worth of talking.
Well, we'll try to limit that.
Yeah, because we're already, like I said at the beginning of the episode, it's gonna be a quick one. No.
No.
But luckily this has been a good one. We'll just slap the intro, outro, get it out to you guys. But the CBA
Mm.
runs through the end of next season, 2026,
Ooh.
and there has been quite a bit more talk than I was expecting of owners realizing that fans are pissed about what the Dodgers are doing. Yes, on paper can
I'm glad we're going into this because this is sort
yes.
of my balk talk too. So go for it.
Um, can all these teams defer money? Yes. With the way that the Dodgers are set up with having the ownership group, not just one person, it makes it to where they can, like what they've said, Shohei's deal, where, it's 98% deferred. They're putting all that money into an account where it's going to accrue interest and everything else, so they're not going to really have any negative side effect
Mhm.
afterwards. But
So they
every
think.
single deal, yeah, we'll have to wait and see how it actually plays out. But every single free agent that's come out and signed with them, I think the vast majority of their deals are all deferred.
Yeah.
And, yes, every team can do it. I mean, Arizona kind of did it. They really did it with Corbin Burns. Other teams have done it. So, but not to the degree that LA is. And you're really starting to see fans and owners acknowledge the fact that baseball unlike the NFL and NBA, does not have a salary cap.
Correct.
And there has been quite a bit of talk of owners wanting to include salary cap, in these negotiations. And we know that is not going to fly
Either side.
with either side, or at least just the players. I think the thing that you could really see, well, I think what you're going to see the players counter with is a salary floor, not a cap. But, you know, do you think that so block or walk, baseball is going to have a prolonged lockout in 2027,
Fuck.
if not if not losing out on the season entirely?
No, I don't think they will. I think that there's a lot of people that are. I think that they're not going to do it because they already went through it a couple times and they know how bad it is to lose seasons. Then you got to reestablish value. Then you got to pray that everybody comes back. They're already in trouble in the. We talk about it being the great American game and blah, 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 blah. It's not anymore. Football's already taken hold of that, which we all know, but you can't afford to let the other sports get involved in this. You can't have the you can't have the MLB fall behind both the NBA or, God forbid, NHL or MLS or somebody comes up from behind or even something new comes out there like, and takes over. That
Yeah.
all those are bad. Those are bad options. MLB can't afford that. Will MLB ever get a salary cap? Heck no. Nobody's going to be about it. The
Hmm.
problem is you can't put a floor in without a cap. So is it ever going to happen? No, I don't think so. I don't think the floor even works because a cap's not there. So if there's
Hmm.
no cap, there's no floor. Here's the bottom line that I will tell you. It's very, very simple. Very, very easy. All you need to do is sell minority shares of the team, just like other teams have. Look, here's the bottom line. The Yankees have owners that are outside of the Steinbrenner family. The Phillies have everybody. Middleton is the head guy, but the Phillies have a bunch of people that have shares in the team, which then they all invest their money and they all make these signings happen. The Dodgers we just referenced, they make their own thing, and this is kind of my balk talk too, because a lot of people are already pissed about the Dodgers. So we're gonna just lump this into one big balk talk now. Um,
Hmm.
you have options. Here's the problem: the owners want to. The owners are greedy. I get it. If you are a family-owned team, you're not gonna do it. And that's your choice. Because if it was a family owned team, there's no way you could defer like they are. The
Hmm.
reason you can defer that money is because you have a stockpile back here in the background that you can pull from and then throw it. The other thing is this: if you make these signings for these big guys, the Juan Sotos, the judges of the day, you get those big names. They pay in twice the form because you have everybody come to the ballpark because they want to see those guys.
Yep.
So you have to make a choice as an owner. If I need more money, I need to sell minority stakes, which then I'm getting paid for already, and I'm gonna get paid pretty good because
Hmm.
people love to get the action. People want to get involved in sports franchises. It's like a dream. How many people
Hmm.
want to own a team?
Yeah.
A bunch. But nobody can because you either have to wait for the owner to die or or you have to have sub shares sold out.
Yeah.
I don't think a cap is going to happen. I don't think a floor is going to happen because a floor needs a cap. There's just no way around it. I don't think that they can exist with just a floor. Even though we might like the idea, and honestly, I'm on board with the idea of a floor, that's fine with me. It's not going to happen because that's the case.
Hmm.
We also need to get owners that don't suck. I think that there needs to be, that's the problem. Also, I think the commissioner has no power to make owners do anything
No,
because, well, I'll be honest with you, Cleveland should be investing in way more money than they are in that team. And we've talked
100%.
about this numerous times. Yes, they're a mid-market team, and I'm not questioning that fact. But you cannot tell me they could not have gone and been in the race for Christian Walker if they were going to do the Josh Naylor deal. You couldn't tell me they couldn't figure out somebody else to bring in. They couldn't bring in a name. They couldn't bring in any name. Like none. They weren't in any of them. Like, even
Hmm.
if you're in the stove report, like, you don't have to really be in it, but like, be in the stove report. Like, have Boris use you as a lie. Like, that
Yeah.
would be at least a step.
Yeah.
But nobody uses them as a lie because they know that they're not going to spend it. So
Hmm.
that's the problem. It can be fixed. And don't tell me, and I know we have people that are going to say, come at me from mid to small markets or whatever market you want to use.
Hmm.
And they're going to come at me and say, but it's not fair. The Dodgers haven't broken a rule. I hate to tell you this. They figured out the loophole. You want to stir it up? Close the loophole, but guess and say you can't defer money anymore. That's the first and only thing you could really put in the CBA. Deferred money is now dead. You can't do it from here on out. All those deals that are already done, though, you can't undo. So guess what? You're not going to undo the Shohei deal. You're not going to undo any of the deals that they just deferred money to. So you either get on board and realize I can be part of this and I can defer some money and I can get some big names to come in here because let's call a spade a spade. Hey, Tigers, that's the only reason Bregman didn't sign there. He even said it. He was like, I'm ready to go over there, but there's no way they weren't going to defer me some money. The deferred money is a great deal for a player. It's the dream. I how many people love the Bobby Bonilla contract now, right? We talk about it every year.
Yeah.
Think about what Shohei's contract's going to look like. It's going to make Bobby Bonilla's contract look like a joke
Hmm.
when it's done. Everybody has the right to do it. Nobody is
Hmm.
telling you can't. You just have to have the supplement to do it. Now, here's the thing. This is going to come back and bite the Dodgers in the rear end because what's going to happen is the group that's signing all these deals is going to exit. They're going to cash out with whatever money they can before those major deals happen. And they're going to make bank. And they're going to leave. And that team's going to go high and dry. Now, they're the Dodgers, so they won't go really high and dry. I'm using the phrasing, but like they're not going to be able to go after people because they are going to run into a wall where they just don't have the funds.
Hmm.
The same thing happens in New York with the Mets. Let's call a spade a spade. They went hard spending early on, right? The first year that Cohen was the guy,
Oh
they
yeah.
went for Verlander, Scherzer, like all these guys, and they went like, throw the money. The checkbook is open. Like we don't care. Sign away. Put your zeros on here, and we'll sign it. And then they realized that the team chemistry stunk, and it blew up. So that
Hmm.
still has a chance to happen in LA.
Oh yeah.
Is it going to? I'm not really betting on it because here's the bottom line. They won last year.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be even better this year. Now, do I think they're gonna win the playoffs? No, I always have a problem with Dave Roberts. You know that. But he's always gonna get one or two. But, you know, I don't think it's a real thing.
Hmm.
You have a shot. Everybody has a chance. Stop using the argument that we don't have money. You have money. You don't want to spend it.
Hmm.
You and you know, everybody in Cleveland. You want to make an impact and say, "Hey, you should start spending on our team." Don't show up and watch what happens. They're going to be upset because nobody's going to come in. They have no money to facilitate anything with. So then the owner's either going to have to pay up to start getting some people, or because you're passionate and you're not going to do that. And I'm of course not really saying that in Cleveland because Cleveland's probably one of the most passionate fan bases out there. They're not going to do that. But like, go sign a deal for your rights in a to get yourself on TV again. Those
Yeah.
deals make money. Go get a big deal. Why have you not already? What's the problem? Like, go find them. Like, somebody in your area is willing to put the Cleveland Guardians on TV for the right amount of money. Just put the price tag up.
It's funny you bring that up, because I don't know what the show was, but it was a podcast or like a social media account that was interviewing Tarek Skubal, and they said, "What was the
Oh
most
yeah,
hostile environment you were in
I
last
saw
year?"
it
And he
too.
was like, Oh, definitely Cleveland. He
Yep.
goes, I've never been in a position where I had an entire stadium flick me off. Yeah,
Yep.
and he goes, but I mean, that being said, it's kind of like like one of
By
your,
the way, and Philly fans are bad.
oh yeah,
Jeez. I mean, come on. He
but
just admitted the entire stadium flipped him the bird, but
yeah,
fine. We're
but
the
he
a-hole.
was like, but let's also call a spade a spade. Yeah, he was like, it was great. It was fun. He
Yeah.
goes, it's a passionate city that loves their team, and when they're good, they're behind them. So he goes, I freaking loved it. That was awesome, and I respect it. And everyone, like, I was going through comments, and it was, Guardians fan here, hate you, hate the Tigers, ton of respect
Yep.
because you're good at what you do. You come out, you play, you got energy, you're fiery, and you make it fun. And so it's like that's the sort of thing I love. And that's the thing with Cleveland is we can be ridiculous. I mean, Marlins guy refuses to go to the Progressive Field anymore, but it's
He should probably not go to any field if he's supporting the Marlins because there's just
yes.
nothing to support.
Um, but in all honesty, you gotta invest in your product, and that's ultimately what baseball and sports in general is a product.
It's this
So
crazy thing. People always say this all the time to me. They're like, "Oh, I'm really upset," and I go, "Okay, do you like Starbucks?" No? Oh, yeah? Okay, cool. How much does a Starbucks coffee cost? $7. Okay. Well, if you took that $7 and you invested it into the actual stock, imagine how much money you'd get back instead of buying Starbucks. You don't have
yeah,
to like them.
yeah,
It's the same thing in sports. If you want to be good, you have to invest in the team.
yep,
Simple. I hate to be the guy that tells you that, but that's it. I mean,
hmm
bottom line, you got to invest in it. There you go.
yep.
All right.
Um, what's this game, and we'll wrap up.
Last thing. All right, so there's this wonderful article. It's each team's player with the most to prove in spring training. And I'm going to just run down the list. I'm going to name you the team. I want you to name the player you think it is. If you don't
All
know,
right,
that's perfectly fine. But, uh, we're going to just start in the AL East and we're going to work our way down. So the AL East is first. First team, Toronto Blue Jays. You kind of named him already.
Boba Fett.
That's it. Bo Bichette is the guy they think they need to. He needs to get back to healthy, is the biggest thing that
Hmm.
they're mentioning. He needs to go back to himself. Baltimore.
This one's tough. I'm
I
gonna
mean, you could name a bunch, but there's
Adley
one big one.
or Batista.
Neither. Jackson Holiday.
Yeah,
Because they need him to produce. He can't come out
yep,
there and have the rookie career he had last
yeah,
year over 60 games. He only slashed 189, 255, 311. Got to be
yep.
better. Rays. This is going to be a tough one.
Their
Other than they
shortstop.
need to hire a new guy to get
Yeah.
the building. But moving on.
The Caballero, Jose
Junior, you mean? But no,
Jr.
no, they did not say he's on the he's the next guy in line, but they were actually talking about Josh Lowe.
Okay. Yeah.
They need more from Lowe this year. This one's gonna be interesting because I don't know, it may have changed now, but still, it's this thing. Uh, Vaughn Grissom. Oh, I just mentioned it. Red Sox, Vaughn Grissom. Well, I
Makes
gave it away.
sense.
It's because he's getting optioned to AAA. He's recalled late in the spring. We'll see if he's able to hang here. It's all going to be based on what Bregman does, basically.
Yeah.
But he needs to play out or he's going to get cut.
Hmm.
Yankees, last one on the AL
Volpe.
East. Volpe, you knew it. Right on it. Yep, Volpe's got
Hmm.
to be better. Volpe had a good year last year, pretty average, really good in the playoffs,
Hmm.
but
You got to
needs to be
step up.
better. Needs to be better. To the AL Central. Guardians is the first one here.
Um, Manzardo.
No, although he's honorable mention. Gabriel Arias is the one
Yeah.
they're mentioning here.
Yep.
Because they really don't know where he's going.
Yeah.
He's not even labeled as he's labeled as an infielder because they don't have a
Hmm.
position for him really. So he needs to pick where he needs to land somewhere. The Royals.
Uh, Pasquantino.
No, but again, another honorable mention. They mentioned Hunter Renfroe as the one that
Yeah.
needs to kind of decide with the outfielders because there's a lot of pressure on the corner outfielders, like we mentioned
Yep.
last year, all year long.
Yep.
Uh, Tigers, you mentioned them already.
Trey Sweeney
No, you
or
mentioned
Torres.
there. Mm-mm, try again.
Javi.
Nope. You mentioned him, first baseman.
Um,
Torque.
Oh, Torkelson. Yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense.
Torque. Torque. They need this is the year they got to figure out if he's going to be something.
Yeah.
The fact that he split time with Detroit and Toledo last year is ridiculous. That guy needs to
Yeah.
be a major leaguer and he needs to prove himself. He
Hmm.
needs to become what Reese Hoskins was, and he needs to figure that out. Like he needs to either get a really good eye or he needs
Yeah.
to stop swinging just solely for power. But if he's going to just swing for solely for power, he better start getting a good eye, get on base, and walk.
Hmm.
With everything going on. Um, oh, Twins. Sorry.
Buxton.
No, but again, honorable mention though. uh, Edouard Julian. They're worried about him because they don't know where he can fit. They have a lot of infielders that hit the ball, and they now added Ty France, so they need to figure out where he's going to go.
Yeah.
So he's kind of on the hot seat. White Sox, you could mention the whole roster, but they picked one.
Luis Robert.
Nope,
Who?
Andrew Vaughn.
Oh, okay.
Luis
Yeah.
Roberts pretty
Yep.
well secure. He's got his job. There's no doubt there. They need
Yeah.
most to prove is Andrew Vaughn. He needs to kind of stick. And as much as I keep forgetting he's a first baseman because he just looks like he's not big enough to be one, but he is.
Yeah.
Um, so we go to the AL West. The Angels, everybody, but
Trout.
good honorable mention, but no. They actually mentioned Yohan Moncada, mainly because we now know Anthony Rendon's gone. So Yohan Moncada now has to step in there and step into that role and be the leader of that team. So
Hmm.
they have him there. Uh, Houston, the Astros.
I mean, there's quite a few that could. I'm gonna
Yep.
say Yainer.
No, not Yainer, although I could have put him in there too. They say Chas McCormick because there's too many
Yeah.
outfielders right now. They need to prove it, and Chaz is kind of the outside looking in. Chaz is weird to me because I feel like his stance always pushes him to being an opposite field guy, and he never hits for pole, which
Hmm.
just makes me want to put everything inside on him and never throw a breaking ball. I just gun him inside, and I think
Yeah.
everybody else has figured that out. Um, can't say Oakland anymore, so I'll just say the Athletics.
Um,
Again, you can name half the roster, but it's not their
Esteury
fault.
Ruiz.
No, another honorable mention. Zach Geloff is who they mention here
Yeah.
because of his breakout 2023, and then he fell into a tailspin last year
Yeah.
with some injuries. So trying to hope he comes back. Mariners,
Um,
relatively big name. Not the outfielder.
Julio.
Not the outfielder.
Oh,
I tried to save you.
Cal Raleigh.
No, again, honorable mention though. Cal's safe in the sense that he's a catcher, and that's about the only
Yeah.
reason he's safe, and he does what they want him to do, hit home runs and then strike out a million times.
Yeah.
Um, JP Crawford.
Okay.
He had a career year in 23, and then he kind of went back to being what he's
JP.
been. He's a really great defensive player, but he's not hitting again. So
Yeah.
they need him to hit and figure that out. Last one on the AL West, the Rangers.
I don't want to say him, but Corey Seager.
No, not Corey Seager. Give you one more shot, but he is a big name like that, so you're on the right track.
DeGrom.
No, that's the honorable mention though.
All right. Hit me with it.
Adolis.
Yeah.
Because of how much he slid after his 2023 campaign.
Yeah.
Adolis is kind of almost on the outside looking in. He's one of those people that's getting taken out just because of not producing
Hmm.
with everything. To the NL East, Braves. You mentioned him earlier too.
Oh, fudge. Sean Murphy.
Yep, Sean Murphy.
Yep.
Got to stay healthy.
Hmm.
Um, they sent Contreras away. Now they've sent Darno away. It's got to be Murphy now. So that's the
Hmm.
biggest thing they're talking about. Um, I don't know why we're even mentioning this team, but we'll mention him. The Marlins.
John Birdie.
No, but good choice. He is on there, but he's not the one. They're mentioning a pitcher, actually. It's Edward Cabrera.
Yeah.
Mainly because he has to step into the role of being the ace because Jesus Luzardo is now a Philadelphia Philly. With Braxton Garrett having season-ending surgery last year, having season-ending surgery, he's got to be the guy.
Yeah.
The Mets. This is an interesting one. You
And
mentioned him already.
oh shoot. Alvarez.
Yep, Francisco Alvarez. Biggest thing the thing we talked about. He needs to be more consistent as a hitter, which we think he will be. He also needs to play. So
Yeah.
he's got to stay healthy. He's been
Hmm.
constantly like a disappointment behind the plate. I would say he's actually worse behind the plate than he is as a hitter. That's the
Wow.
problem, I think, in
Hmm.
my opinion. He's a terrifying hitter.
Yeah.
But yeah. Um, the Nationals. This one's going to be interesting. I don't know if you're going to guess this one.
CJ Abrams.
No, but he is definitely the honorable mention.
Who
You're
is it?
really good at these honorable mentions. I'm just
Yes, I
saying, you're
am.
really all over them. Um, left-hand pitchers, both DJ Hertz and Mitchell Parker, because
Yeah.
they're stacked with left-hand pitching, but they're stacked with pitching in general. On that team, you're thinking of Mackenzie Gore, Jake Urban, Michael Soroka, who I'm really ticked off the Phillies didn't get, Trevor
Uh,
Williams, Shisuke Agazawara. I'm gonna butcher his name, and I'm so sorry about that. And then it's Hurst and Parker. So somebody's gonna have to step up to take the fifth spot, and that's kind of who that battle is between. And the last one for the NL East, the Phillies. Should be a pretty easy one to figure out, actually. It is pitching. I'll
oh.
give you a clue. Pitching.
Um. 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 Um.
Who's my most hated guy that I love to bash on here?
Taiwan.
Yeah, Taiwan. It's exactly Taiwan. Um, he's owed 36 million at this start of this year. He's basically fighting to be in the roster right now.
Hmm.
He's also fighting, if anything else, to be the long man in the bullpen.
Yeah.
So while I think Taiwan will be part of the team, sadly, um, he's not going to be a starter anymore, especially not after Jesus Luzardo. So if you look at the Phillies roster right now, he's not even a starting pitcher anymore.
Hmm.
Going forward to the NL Central, the Brewers,
Um.
relatively big name, you would kind of know it.
Oh shoot.
Pitcher,
Um. Brandon Woodward.
there you go,
Okay.
Woodruff. But yes, you're right
Woodruff.
on it.
Yeah.
I'll give you a pass.
Thank you.
Longest tenure Brewer. Yes, he's the all-time ERA leader, but he hasn't pitched since 2023, since he suffered an
Hmm.
injury. They're trying to figure out if he's back or not. Basically, nuts and bolts, really easy.
Yeah.
Um, Cardinals. I know there's about
Arenado.
honorable mention. No, it's Nolan Gorman.
Yeah.
Really, because they don't know what they're going to get from Arenado this year, and they kind of need to have somebody waiting in the wings. And they're
Hmm.
very much so. You could, as many times as they tried to move him this Arenado this year, bet he probably moves in the if he has a good start to the year, he could probably move in
Yeah. Deadline.
trade deadline. The Cubs.
Um.
Good luck, because I honestly don't know if you would know this one.
Oh, Seiya.
No, but I would have put Seiya. They have Jordan Wicks.
Okay.
Mainly because had a great debut in 2023, opening day roster guy. Now he's trying to get back on there, but they just signed,
Hmm.
like you mentioned, Matthew Boyd and Colin Rea. He's running out of room on the rotation. The
Hmm.
Pirates, everybody, but
Yeah. I have no idea what the Pirates.
it's Henry Davis, but it's mainly because they have Joey Bart who's coming back, who has solid 24, and Andy Rodriguez is due to come back, so he might be the odd man out at catcher.
Hmm.
The Reds.
I mean, it could be a number of people on that
I was
team.
gonna say you can name about six of them.
I don't think it's him, but I'm gonna say Ellie.
It's not, but because he's pretty secure, but you're not far off in the positioning. It's Novelli Marte, who's the third baseman.
Yeah, the guy that
Had
got
a
busted for PEDs.
He got busted for PEDs, yeah. That's the biggest thing. NL West, last ones, which is hilarious to think about that some of these names are on here. But NL West, we'll start with the D-backs. You mentioned them earlier. We had a
Alec Thomas.
whole segment on them. Go back to pitching.
Oh shoot. Oh shoot. Eduardo. No, Montgomery.
There you go, Jordan Montgomery. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly everything you described earlier. It's Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah.
He's the odd man out at the moment. Could change
Hmm.
that, but hard to say that there's anybody on this team that we would mention here. But the Dodgers,
Um, Will Smith.
no, he's very well secure just because he's a catcher. If he was anywhere else, he'd be in trouble. Uh, James Outman is who they have here, and it's
Okay.
because he's just they're running out of room.
Yeah, because they
um,
have an all-star team.
yeah. For the Giants.
Oh, is it one of their pitchers?
No, it is not. It is a position player.
I have no idea.
Marco Luciano.
Yeah.
Former top prospect. He's really great, but he keeps on struggling and he can't put it together in the majors. He could, he needs to be a difference maker for the Giants, basically. And they also still have to wait for their, the center fielder to come back, who I can't remember his name, but from Korea.
Yeah.
Um, Padres.
Oh, Nando had a better year last year.
Yep, he's good.
Higashioka's gone.
You're
Um,
on the right track with the position with Hagasioka, though.
oh, who's their catcher? I can't think of what his name is. He got a funky stance. I
Yep,
know
yeah,
what his
you're on
name
it.
is. I just don't know it. I can't think. Yeah.
Luis Campusano.
Yes.
Yes, because not only is Campusano a problem because yes, they lost Higashioka, which he lost the job to Higashioka halfway through the year, but after the team signed Elias Diaz late last year, he was left off the postseason roster. So Campusano needs to earn his job back, basically. The
Mm.
last one,
The Rockies.
the
Can
Rockies.
I say the front office?
I'd agree. It
Bryant,
is a player though.
Chris Bryant.
Yep, Chris Bryant. He has appeared in just 158 games over his first 3 years of that 7 year, $182 million contract. His back is a big problem, and I would not be surprised if he can't get it going that they might just cut their losses on this one soon.
Yeah.
But not bad. I will say this, you had a lot of the
I'm
honorable mentions.
I'm the king of the
So
honorable mention.
you are the king of the honorable mentions. So I give you credit where it's not an easy list.
Yeah.
I definitely tested your scope on that one.
Well,
You
I
did very
appreciate
well.
it. Good idea there. But we will go ahead and wrap this
Yes, we will.
preseason episode of What's on Second, a true baseball podcast. It was a great time to kind of get back into the swing of things, no pun intended. Um,
See what you did
this
there.
one was really thank you. This one was good, top to bottom. So we'll probably get this right out to you guys within the next couple of days. I think Richie, you're taking off soon, right?
I
Going out of town.
am. I am. I'm flying out
So,
to Hawaii soon.
oh, lucky you. Um,
Yes.
so, have fun on that. It's going to be a few weeks until we come back. It'll probably honestly be after the regular season has started. We just wanted to come out, get our juices flowing to you guys, get season three kind of set off on the right foot, and we'll see you out there on the diamond, the start of the regular season.